Hi, I'm Lynn Gibney, AccuQuilt's Chief Marketing Officer, and I want to welcome all of you to our ongoing celebration of National Quilting Month. We're excited to be learning about the history and design behind something many of us love, barn quilt blocks. As always, I'm joined by our hosts today, Pam and Erica.
Hi, Lynn.
Hello, Lynn.
Thanks for having us.
I love our red shirt.
Yes,
I
we
know,
look
very barn quilt looking.
we
I
look
like
awesome.
that.
Americana.
Quilters, we have so much planned for you today. We're going to share what barn quilt blocks are and a little about the history of that trend.
We're also going to talk about the design process and how you can translate this art form into your own quilts using our Qube products.
At AccuQuilt, we're always working to inspire makers everywhere to experience the joy of quilting and sewing, and we love the idea of using National Quilting Month to highlight some of our traditions.
The modern day barn quilt was born in 2001 when Donna Sue Groves wanted to honor her mother, Maxine, and her passion for quilting. She placed a large painted quilt block on the side of her barn in Adams County, Ohio.
That's right. Soon, Donna Sue was creating blocks for friends, and eventually she worked with the Ohio Arts Council to include 19 other locations in the state.
Which is why it's so fitting that the first barn block was actually the Ohio Star. Local artists painted the design and it was installed at a nearby greenhouse to publicly kick off that first quilt trail.
Today, quilters, there are 43 quilt trails in the United States and 3 in Canada, with U.S. trails found in states ranging from Ohio to Illinois, Wisconsin to Alabama, and Tennessee and Kentucky.
And Nebraska, that's where AccuQuilt's home is.
That is exactly right.
Such an interesting history, and we owe traveling quilter Susie Perrone and her book a lot of thanks in learning it.
Susie Perrone teamed up with Donna Sue Groves to write the book Barn Quilts and the American Quilt Trail Movement. It's a great read, and features beautiful pictures. I just love it.
It's such a great book. Now, if you want to just get to creating your own barn quilts, you want to check out the Quilt Blocks on American Barns book by our good friend Eleanor Burns. It features ideas and instructions for 6 and 12-inch blocks.
There's so many things in there that we were looking through and we just thought we should make.
Oh, gosh, right?
What a great book. And both of these are available on our site right now. So just go ahead and pick them up today.
Just get them both. They're both great reads and you'll be so inspired by them.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to get our show started. We have so much planned. So I'm going to step out and let both of you get started.
All right, thanks,
great
Lynn.
show.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right, quilters, before we go any further, we have a special deal for you today.
Yes.
Today, buy 2, get 1 free on Go Qubes, Go Dyes, cutting mats, and accessories.
Use the code BARNQUILT, kind of apropos,
I believe.
for the discount and get free shipping for those of you in the contiguous U.S. Now, some exceptions do apply, so be sure to check the website party site for the details.
Now, quilters, this offer is only good until midnight. Okay, are we daylight time? Are we central time?
We're Central Time, but I don't know what time that is.
Listen,
but
midnight central time.
Midnight Central Time.
Is when the
Whenever
orders,
that is.
Yes. So make sure you get your order in before that time and look, because sometimes we sell out of product.
We do. We do. To get your order in during the show, you can use your phone's camera. It'll capture the QR image here on the screen, take you right to the party page on the site.
If you don't have access to a QR reader, no worries. You'll want to open up a new tab in your browser, go to the top in that page and click on the plus sign.
Yep.
In that very top box, type in AccuQuilt.com/party to place your order. That way you won't miss a minute of our show.
That's right. You can also find these products at your local AccuQuilt retailer. To find the retailer closest to you, check out the store locator. It's at the top of the page at AccuQuilt.com. And if you're looking for a new cutter,
Today's a really
or
great
even your
day.
first cutter, you will want to check out our website because we have some amazing deals.
Right.
Some of the best you're going to see all year.
Yes. So if you're looking to upgrade to that Go Big, today's the day to
good
do
day.
that. Quilters, AccuQuilt offers financing options through Bread as low as 0% APR. For more information on financing through AccuQuilt, visit AccuQuilt.com/financing.
Okay, so barn quilts are something that span our country. So we decided to honor that by asking our experts to do something a little different this time around.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this.
I am too.
We challenged them to find 2 to 3 local barn quilt blocks and then use them to draw inspiration to create a new project.
That's right.
Now, today we have 3 of our experts joining us. First, we have Tammy, who started quilting 40 years ago and has been using AccuQuilt since 2009.
Joining Tammy, we have Anita. Now, Anita's childhood was filled with scrap fabric and sewing lessons from her grandmother, and I love that.
Yeah, I feel like our grandkids are going to say that.
Absolutely, I
You
hope
bet.
so.
You bet. All right, and rounding off our challengers, we have Vicky, who started quilting at the age of 8, and this is so cool. For the last 3 years, she's taught high school students how to quilt.
Because we've got to teach the next
We do.
generation.
We do.
We do.
Okay, before we get started, let's kick things off by giving away our Go Bear's Paw Bob die.
Oh, this is a great die. It's one of our block on board dies. Here is just what that block is going to look like.
It's just a sample of this block, and it's so great. So what do you love about Bear's Paw is that it has those great basic designs, right?
It does.
It has half square triangles and squares and rectangles.
And I think if you put your mind to it, you could probably come up with some other designs to do with those shapes as well.
Yes, I love it. So we're going to give our first lucky viewer is, drum roll, Karen Y. from Waterton, South Dakota. I've been there. I bet I met you, Karen.
Congratulations, Karen.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, listen, Karen, when you finish those projects, we'd love to see them.
We
Share them
would.
with you.
We would. Be sure
Yep.
to share.
All right, so I can't wait to see the barn quilt blocks that our experts have found around the United States. Tammy, let's start with you.
Well, hello, Pam. Hello, Erica. Wow, is this a fun challenge? I love to look at objects and old quilts and figure out ways to convert them into patterns. And using our Go products, it makes it so simple. My adventures took me to Boulder County, where I found the Prairie Sunrise. It's on the side of this big, beautiful red barn. And I don't know if it captured my attention because it really represents what Colorado's all about, the purple mountains and the pink sunrises. But the block itself is a 9-patch block, and it's got a triangle and a square. So when you put multiples together, it actually gives it a curved piece look, which will give you a secondary image. So this block is really quite lovely. The next one is called the double windmill. Now I found this out east of Denver, and this one really caught my attention. It's got multiple triangles in 2 different sizes, and they're spinning. And the more I looked at it, I'm like, that has got a square right dab in the middle of that thing, and that is going to be a challenge to do. So I took that challenge on. So this was a fun block to make. So the last one I found was also out east of Denver, and it's called the Young Man's Fancy. And I don't know if this one grabbed my attention just simply because of the colors, the red, black, and white, or if my mind just got going on overload thinking of all the different color combinations that could be used in this one block. But this is definitely one of those, I love that block. So I just shared with you my 3 favorite quilt block finds on the sides of barns, and I'll be back in just a little bit to show you my finished project. See you soon.
Oh, those are some beautiful blocks to be inspired
so
by.
Excited.
I can't wait to see what her final project is. Now remember, we're going to ask you, our viewers, which project is your favorite at the end after we've seen their reveals.
I think it's going to be a hard decision.
I think so too.
We have some really great ones. All right, so now Tammy, she found a barn quilt square on a barn.
Right.
And we're going to break it down and show you how you can make this block using your AccuQuilt system.
Right, because one of the questions that we get the most often from quilters is, how do I figure out what dies to use to make my blocks?
Right.
So we're going to show you some of the ways and talk about some of our tips.
Right.
Now we're going to be working with the 8-inch cube today, and let me get it out.
Yes.
But the important thing to remember is that all of the cubes are going to work the same way, no matter which number, which size finish block you're using, right?
Right. All the shapes are the same. They're just different sizes.
So
okay?
Pam's taught me to pull the small one out first. That's
This
where your
little
cutting
skinny
mat's
one,
going to be.
That's where your cutting mat is.
All right, so let's take a look at those shapes before we get started so you know what
All right.
we're working with.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice about the cube is that it stores your dies correctly. You want to store them like books on a shelf.
Right.
Don't stack them one on top of each other. Now, each cube, each die is numbered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll talk about the rest.
Right.
through 8. Each pocket is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and each pocket also has a diagram. I know it's a concept of putting things back in your sewing room.
I know, but it's what we all kind of dream about.
It is.
So.
Now, the most important thing to remember about the cube system, I'm going to move this here, is that the cube system is based on a 4-patch system.
Right.
So every shape, number 1, in every cube is going to be a square. And in this case, 4 of them sewn together is going to finish to an 8-inch block.
Because it's an 8-inch cube.
Correct. Now, these are all geometric shapes, so we've added that 1/4-inch seam allowance built right in there for you.
And that's why you see cut size and finish size.
Right, right. And think how hard it is to cut squares correctly.
Right.
Right? We have a die for that.
We do.
Okay?
We love that.
Shape number 2 in every single cube are smaller squares. So it's hard to see right here, but there's a blade here in the center. So Erica, this is to show quilters that sometimes we have more than one shape on a die board.
That's right.
Right? So you want to read the instructions. If your pattern says cut 4 2.5-inch squares, you're only going to need 1 piece of fabric.
And since you can put 6 layers, up to 6 layers of 100% quilting cotton on there, you've got 4 squares. My goodness, quilters, you're going to have hundreds of squares cut in no time.
In no time at all. Okay?
And they'll be perfect.
And that'd be perfect. Okay, shape number 3 in every single cube is my all-time favorite shape. This is half square triangles. And these are big half square triangles. So you're going to notice a couple of things here, quilters. We've cut off the dog ears for you. Here, I'm going to move this back. There we go. We've cut off the dog ears. So from this point here to this point here is that perfect 1/4-inch seam. And Erica, why do we want to cut off dog ears?
Because then we don't have to spend time later on trimming again. So
Right.
not only are we going to save you 90% time
Right.
on your cutting, but you're going to save more time as you go because they're all going to be perfect and because you're not going to have to go back in and trim those little ears off.
Trim those little dog ears to reduce the
Yes.
bulk. Yeah.
No puppies hurt in this.
No puppies.
No puppies
No
hurt.
puppies involved. Okay, shape number 4 in every single cube are quarter square triangles. And I love that it's shape number 4, so you can remember
Yes.
quarter squares. Just like our half square triangles, we've cut off our dog ears, no puppies were involved. From this point here to this point here is that 1/4-inch seam allowance.
And quarter square triangles it's important to put them together the way they're designed so that you keep your lengthwise grain on the outside and not your bias.
Right. All right, so those are the first 4 shapes in the
But wait,
cube.
I've got more.
There is more.
We've got 4 more quilters.
All right, so remember, all the shapes are the same in every cube. They're just different sizes. So in the first 4, there were big squares and little squares, big half square triangles, and shape number 5 are smaller half square triangles.
And you call this our workhorse.
I do call this our workhorse. Okay, so let's do a little math. I know it's early, but let's try. Okay, so everything equals back to shape number 1, right?
Right.
So you would need to cut 8 half square triangles to make shape number 1.
And then you would have a pinwheel block the size of shape number 1.
Right. But what if we wanted to make an 8-inch block? How many of these would we have to do? 32.
And you know how fast that would go?
Yes.
Super fast.
Yes, because we can just fan fold our fabric. We don't have to cut a strip and cut a square and mark it and sew it and trim it and cut. Just put fabric on a die.
There's a die for that.
Yes.
That's what we say. There's a die
There
for that.
is. So shape number 5, our workhorse. It also allows other shapes to become new shapes. So shape number 6 in every cube
There we go.
are not only just squares, but they're square on point.
That's right. And to turn that into a regular square, standing flat on its feet instead of on a tippy toe, we're going to use our friend shape number 5 to go on the opposite sides to turn it into a square that's going to equal shape number 1.
Right. And AccuQuilt did all the math because some of us went to college and studied history.
That's right.
Right.
All
Okay.
kinds of things other than history and English and
Yes.
not so much on the math.
Okay, so shape number 7 in every cube is a parallelogram. I'm pretty sure Joe woke up this morning and said, gosh, I hope there's a parallelogram in a cube.
But I certainly wouldn't want to cut them,
No.
and I wouldn't want to do the math. So we're going to cut it for you. It's going to be perfect every time, and it's going to team up with our friend, shape number 5.
Yep, we're going to add shape number 5 to the long end of our parallelogram, and it's going to make a rectangle. So
Good.
isn't it fortuitous that shape number 8 in every cube are
Is a rectangle.
Okay?
And they're going to equal each other.
They are. So these are the 8 shapes in every cube. They're just different sizes.
Now, quilters, there's all kinds of ways to figure out, to work with inspiration, to get your creativity going. One of the ways that Pam and I like to do is to work with felt.
We do.
We like to cut out our basic shapes with felt and then build our blocks from there. And so that's what we're going to do with that Prairie Sunrise block
Right.
that you saw on that first barn that Tammy had.
Right. So a couple of things. First of all, felt is great because you can cut not only cotton but flannel and felt and denim
Right.
and wool
So
and
many
cork
different
and
fabrics.
minky. And I use Fun Craft foam, and
Yeah.
I cut them for this as well. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to look at the grid. So the grid system, sometimes people get stressed about grids. In the quilting world, we call a 4-patch is actually a 2x2 grid.
Right.
And then a 9-patch is a 3x3
Three.
grid. So you want to find the smallest unit in this block, and it's going to be a square. So this one, because we're going to count that cool border,
Yes.
this is actually going to be a 5x5 grid. Okay, so we're going to start from the center. Erica, what's the first 2 shapes we need in the center?
In the very center, we see that white square on point, and that is our shape number 6. Now, I would not figure out the math to make this on my own,
No.
so I'm super happy that we've got this for us.
Right.
So we're going to start with that square on point,
Right.
and then we're going to put those half square triangles on either side. And
Yep.
when I'm sewing these, Pam, I go opposite sides.
Yes, I
and
do as
then
well.
press them to the outside.
Yes.
And then do opposite sides.
Right, so I would do this and I press them. Chain piece for days, okay?
Yes,
Just try
great
and do
chain
that.
piecing.
Okay,
And
now,
they're going to line up perfectly because, again, of those dog ears that we've cut off.
right. And right here's that 1/4 inch seam, so don't stress about that, okay?
Okay.
So that's the center block, and then what's the next shapes we need,
So the
Erica?
next shapes we need going out from there are going to be some hourglass blocks that are going to be made with 1/4 square triangles. And again, I don't like cutting 1/4 square triangles
No.
by hand.
No.
It's so easy and so fast to do this.
Right.
We have cut this and it's so easy to lay out. So sometimes when you're looking at something, you may need help with figuring out what shapes to use. This is a great way to do that.
Right, and I'm gonna tell you, every time I build a block, I lay my pieces out.
Yes.
Because then I know that I'm doing it right.
Because sometimes you don't.
No, sometimes I sew blocks together wrong.
And it makes us crabby, so we hate
It
that.
does.
Yeah.
It
So
does.
this is a great way to do it. Now, if you're somebody who's really comfortable with technology, electric quilt is a great way to lay out quilts in a digital manner, and we actually sell that on our website.
We do.
And I'm just kind of learning that program.
I am as well. When you learn it, will you teach me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll
We're
have a
working
plan.
on that. We're working on that.
Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with using felt.
No, no, not at all. So now we've built, this is called square and a square, right?
Right.
And we've made those corner squares together. So now the next shapes we're going to need are half square triangles.
That's right. And these are going to be shape number 3. So this is going to be the large half square triangle.
Yep.
And we're going to build that. The pink is going to
Toward
be
the
towards
center.
the center.
This is such a fun block.
It really is.
Now, during quarantine, my granddaughter Oakley, who's 6, she spent a lot of time at our house, and I actually took my 8-inch cube and I cut a bazillion pieces, right? Just all sorts of pieces. And then I let her sit out and she could build quilt blocks
Yes.
for days. It was great.
Fun. This is the way everyone should learn geometry
Yes.
in my book, with
Yes.
fabric.
With fabric. Okay, so did you see how cute our block looks? So think about this, quilters. You could make it in different colors, but again, so much faster, so much easier using our cube system.
Okay, so let's look at how to build that outer layer,
Yes.
that last layer.
Okay, so let's talk about this shape. You want to talk about
So
that
this
shape?
is our triangle in a square center. And it is not in your basic 8 shapes. We didn't talk about it before. This is in the companion set angles.
It is.
Now, since we're using the 8-inch block, the 8-inch cube for this, we need the 8-inch companion set angles. And this is our isosceles triangle.
Yes.
And then on either side of it, we're going to make it a square by adding half rectangle triangles.
And just like our regular triangles, look, we've cut off the dog ears. So from this point here to this point here is a 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to tell you, Erica, if I had to cut those pieces by hand, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I would look at this and I would say, gosh, I like that block.
Yeah,
It'd
that's
be
pretty.
really nice to make. But here, I'm going to be able to do it. It's going to be perfect. And then we're going to fill this out then with our squares, which were our shape number 1.
Yes. And remember, quilters,
Oops.
I'm telling you, squares are really hard to cut by hand because you're trying to use that rotary cutter and a ruler and it wobbles and they're never straight. Listen, we cut all of our pieces perfectly.
So if you're like me and the quilting voices in your head have little designs floating through them,
Yes.
cutting out these felt shapes is a great way to get started with translating those.
Yes.
Or if you've seen a quilt block somewhere that you really like,
Yes.
that you want to recreate with your cubes and you're not quite sure, this is a great way to get started.
Yeah, just take a picture of it, print it out, and grid it out so you know what kind of grid it is and go from there. Okay, perfect.
All right, so there's our first one.
Perfect. Quilters, don't forget today we have a special offer for you.
Until midnight tonight, buy 2, get 1 free on Go cubes, dies, cutting mats, and accessories. Be sure to use the code BARNQUILT. That means that if you buy a cube, say our
Yes.
8-inch cube, and the 2 matching companion sets, one of those companions would be free.
Yeah, so that's the first thing we're going to tell you, right? Is if you have a cube, the first thing you want to buy are those companion sets. And quilters ask us all the time, like, what size cube should I get? And I say, yes.
Yes, all of them.
All of them, okay? Now, quilters, we've been known to sell out of stock, so get your order in now if there's something specific that you want.
You can also find many of our products at your local AccuQuilt retailer.
Now, Erica, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to see some more quilt blocks.
I
Let's see
think
what
so.
Anita found for her inspiration.
Hey Pam and Erica, thank y'all for having me back on. You know I love doing these, but I'm really excited about this week's episode of Barn Quilts because I love all of them. And let me tell you, it was really hard to choose just 3 because here in Warren County, Kentucky, we have a quilt trail. And so I took this opportunity to go out with my sister on the trail, and it was really hard to just choose 3 of the barn quilts. But I did narrow it down, and my first one there comes from the Tucker Farms, and it's called Road to Fortune. Now what I like about this one is the color in the center and the motion you get with those half triangles. I really like the look of that. And I like that abstract circle that surrounds all of it. It was just beautiful, a beautiful block. The next one you see there is from Alvington, Kentucky, and it is called the American Lone Star. And look at all the color in that block. It was just amazing. And I like how they put the 4 patches on each corner, and then they had the Lone Star in the center. And I am telling y'all, the picture doesn't do it justice when it comes to color on that. It was just beautiful. And it was on the broad side of the barn, so it was quite a huge barn quilt. But probably my favorite was at the Donahoe Farm, and that is a block that I'd never seen before called Tobacco Leaf. And one of the reasons I like it is because it reminds me of my childhood. I grew up here in Kentucky on a tobacco farm. So my sister and I were really partial to that one. And I could see our orange peel dye being used in that block. So there's all kinds out there, but those were my 3 choices, my 3 picks for inspiration. Speaking of which, I have something up my sleeve, a project I think y'all are gonna like, so I better get off and get working on it.
Okay, those blocks were so creative.
And I love the history behind it. You know, she grew up on a tobacco farm.
Yes.
There was one that reminded her of that. I just think that's great. So I feel that we're inspired to give away another one of our Go Bears Paw Bob dies.
I think that is an excellent idea.
All right, don't forget, this is the block that you can make. It has those basic geometric shapes that are so hard to cut by hand, right?
Yes.
Squares, half square triangles, rectangles, it all works
And
together.
then we want to see what else you can make out of those
Yeah.
shapes.
Okay.
All right, our next winner is Bobby H. from Cliff, New Mexico.
Congratulations, Bobby. Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Well, I think we should talk through one of these blocks.
I think we should. So let's start with the Lone Star one.
Yes. Now, it reminded me right away of one of our great patterns that we have called a strip star sampler. And we've
Yes.
got one here, so let's show everybody.
And this one is great. So I'm going to hold it up. You don't have to see me. Erica's going to talk about it.
Okay, so when you look at this, obviously this is not the same colors that we saw in that barn quilt. But you could use our program Go Quilt on AccuQuilt.com and change those colors out. Now, it has some different blocks in the corners, but we're going to talk about how to build the blocks that you saw on that barn quilt. Okay.
And I think, didn't we use our 2.5-inch strip die?
Yes, those are all made with a 2.5-inch strip die. Again, just one more reason why every quilter needs a 2.5-inch strip die.
And I feel like today, while buy two, get one free, boy, today's the day to really work on those strip dies,
Yes.
right? If there's a strip die you're missing, today's the day to kind
Fill
of
out
fill
your
it in.
line.
Yep.
Fill out the line.
All right,
Okay.
so let's look at our little block here. It's called American Lone Star, and we're just going to build the corner blocks.
So we took our cubes and we built that sawtooth star in the middle. Now this is actually one of our basic mix and match blocks.
It is.
It's one
I like
of
it
the
a lot.
72 basic blocks that you can make using your cube. And that's another great idea, great tip for you when you're looking for inspiration or when you're trying to translate something into dies. Is to look at those basic mix and match blocks and get the shape numbers right from there.
And they're free downloadable patterns at AccuQuilt.
They are, all of them.
Thousands of free patterns.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the center. We have hay, by the way. in our
Yes,
stars.
yes. I wonder where
Okay,
that came from.
so the center is a square, which is shape number
One.
one. Yep.
Okay.
And then the next shapes you're going to kind of look at and you're going to say, what are those? But actually, they're just flying geese.
That's right. And there is a flying geese in every cube, right?
Yes, shapes 4 and 5. So you want to make sure those little flying geese come to the center. Now here's my little pro tip on how to sew flying geese. You're going to start, here is that quarter square triangle here, those shape number 5.
Shape number 5.
So what you're going to do is you're going to put right sides together. Now some of you are going to say, ooh, Pam, there's that little tip right there. Yeah, because we cut off the dog ears here. So you're going to sew from this point here all the way down here. Then you're going to press it away. And then you're going to add the other side. So chain piece for days with flying geese.
And it's going to be perfect. And when you look at this, don't panic because you see that it doesn't go, your point doesn't go all the way to the top.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Yes.
Seam allowance.
Seam allowance.
Okay, that's that 1/4-inch seam allowance.
Okay.
So
Look
when
at
you
this.
sew it together, then you are going to have that perfect point every time that we
Listen,
all look for,
I
right?
think in the summer, you and I, when there's not snow on the ground, we should go on a little barn
I want to.
quilt.
We have a quilt trail here,
We
not
do.
far from us.
We do. Okay, and then the corners are shape number 2.
That's right.
So look at how fast that went together. So this is our sawtooth barn. Now, you could change the centers, you could change the whole thing if you wanted, right?
You
I
could.
just think it's great. Go
Now,
ahead.
if you want to use our strip star pattern as a basis for recreating that great barn quilt, you could use the 8-inch cube,
Right.
make this block just like we did here, and use the sashing as directed in the pattern.
Right, which is that 2.5-inch strip,
Which is-
which finishes to 2 inches.
Right. However, if you wanted it to look just a little bit more like that barn quilt block, you
Yes.
could use your 10-inch cube and make it 10 inches, cut out the sashing, and then it would match really well with what you just saw on the broad side of that barn.
Right. And
We're
I'm
going to use that term now
We
that
are
we know it.
forever, like we knew what it meant
Yeah.
before Anita talked about it. But I'm going to talk about that 10-inch cube because I love the 10-inch cube
Mm-hmm.
for lots of reasons. Number one, the numbers are equal, right?
Yes.
Because I can do 10, 20, 30, 40. I can do
Right.
that math in my head.
Right.
Okay? So if you're looking today for like a different size cube that you want to use, 10-inch cube and get the companions because one of them will be free.
There you go.
Okay, remember our special offer is buy 2, get 1 free on cubes, dies, cutting mats today, quilters. Check out those cutting mats. They're gonna wear out, right? Hundreds
Right,
of cuts.
right.
Then recycle them, but make sure you have mats. You wanna use the code BARNQUILT, BARNQUILT, all one word. Those of you in the contiguous US will receive free shipping. Now remember, different cubes and companions will work together.
Right.
Like the 6 and the 9, and the 9 and the 12, and the 8 and the 10. So take advantage of this great deal.
That's right.
Now, if you already have an 8-inch cube, maybe you want to add both of the companions.
Right.
Right? One would be free. Maybe you have the 12-inch mix and match cube. right? Then
Right.
again, make sure you get those companion sets.
Or maybe you want to just add some more cubes to the family.
Yeah.
We love all those options.
Yes.
And don't forget to pick up those 2 great barn quilt books. We've got Barn Quilts and the American Quilt Trail Movement by Susie Perrone with Donna Sue Groves.
Right here.
And
Quilt Blocks on American Barns by Eleanor Burns.
that book is so full of inspiration.
Okay, Erica, we need a barn. Maybe somebody
Maybe
would let
we
us.
do.
Maybe somebody who has a barn would let us use their barn. And
Yes.
we'll design a block for
We
it.
need a barn.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we have one more expert to catch up with. So, Vicky, what did you find on your hunt for barn quilts?
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you today. Hi, Pam. Hi, Erica. I hope everyone is doing well back in the studio. I had so much fun going out and looking at barn quilts. The first one that I picked to share with you today is a modified sawtooth. I like it because it's traditional, but it has that variation in the corners. And I really, really like that subtle change to make it look quite different. The second barn quilt that I chose is a little bit more fun. It's a lot of colors, bold colors, and it kind of says spring. So the other thing that I really like about it is that it's uses simple shapes. It's also set on point, so it's a little bit unusual. And then I like those almost flying geese looking half square triangles in the 4 corners. It's kind of like a hovering hawk, but slightly different. I also like that it has kind of a flange binding around the edges. The third quilt that I chose is a patriotic one. It's an American flag, and this one hangs in my living room. It kind of has a special story behind it. This gentleman made it for his wife, but unfortunately it was too big for their wall, and so they gave it to us. So I always think of Bill when I see that flag hanging in our living room. Well, I think I've got some great ideas for my challenge piece, and I'm going to go away now, and I'll be back shortly to show you what I've come up with.
Oh, wow. Those are some beautiful
They
blocks. Did you notice
are.
there was snow on the ground?
I love that.
Good
It
job.
hasn't been that long since we've had snow on the ground
I know.
here.
All right.
So in a few minutes, we're going to reveal what our experts have created for their final projects. After the reveal, we're going to ask you to make the very difficult choice, I think, of choosing a favorite.
Yeah, we don't have to do that.
Yes.
Now, before we open that poll, let's take a closer look at the barn quilts that Vicky chose. So let's talk about this one. It's called the Modified Ohio Star.
Or she called it, what else did she call it?
I don't know, but I love it.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. So again, we want to look at our grid,
Yes.
and we've got
A 3x3
a
grid.
3x3 grid.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you would call that a 9-patch, right?
Yeah.
And look, it's on a red barn.
It's
We're
on a
wearing
red barn. I
shirts.
love it.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, Erica, look at this. I'm so happy that the centers are, this is one of my favorite shapes, is shape number 6. So it's that square and a square.
Yes. So we've got that. We're going to get the red on the side. Now, it took us a minute to translate this one, didn't it?
did.
You know, and even when we're recreating it, every once in a while we have to stop and look. And
We
that's
did.
a really good lesson, I think. Don't get frustrated. I mean, sit there. I use graph paper sometime at home, too.
You have stacks of
I
graph
have
paper.
lots of graph paper because I get these ideas in my head, and then I want to figure out how to use my dies to
Right.
make them.
Right.
So here's our square and a square unit, and that's going to be the center. Now, how are we going to get that kind of next design layer?
Right. So it's actually quarter square triangles. And look how cool this is. Okay, so I'm going to give you
We tried to
4.
be prepared.
We did. Listen, we separated and did all of our good stuff.
But look how cool when we lay that red then up against the red, we're getting that secondary design pattern.
Yes. And in your quilting head, you're going, oh.
Oh, that's how they did that.
That's how they did that. Yep.
Because we had to sit and give that
We
a
had
look.
to noodle on that
Yeah,
for a
we did.
minute. We had to noodle on that for a minute.
And
Okay.
that's okay, too. And
Yeah.
you know what? We do a thing called phone a friend.
We do.
Pam and I talk to each other about these things all the time.
Sometimes several times a day.
Sometimes several times a day. Yeah.
Okay.
Like this.
Like this.
Like this.
Okay, so look at that. Look how cool that is. So that's how it created that center block.
And then to finish it off, we have got shape number 3, which are the large half square triangles.
Yep.
The white is going to go towards the center. We're going to put the red then to the outside.
And again, Erica, think how hard it would be to cut quarter square triangles by hand.
You know, I would look at this and I would want to make it, but if I was left to my own devices, I never would.
No. So with AccuQuilt, it's going to cut accurate every single time. You can cut up to 6 layers of quilting cotton. We cut off the dog ears. We added that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So truly, when we say 90% faster,
Yeah.
we mean 90% faster. So what used to take you an hour to cut out, you can cut out in 5 or 6 minutes, which leaves 54 minutes every hour to do what you love to do, which is the sewing and
The
the
sewing
quilting.
and the quilting. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but before I started using AccuQuilt, my favorite quilt pattern was rectangles.
Yes.
Because they were the easiest thing to
Yes.
cut, and they
Yes.
weren't just squares, and I felt like I was doing
Yes.
something more complicated.
Yes.
Now I do all kinds of things.
And I'm going to tell you, I honestly do not make a quilt that we don't have a die for, because we have hundreds of dies.
And as we say, there's a die for that.
There is.
Now, Vicky showed a barn block that was made of wood, which is another way of showing how quilting inspires other art forms.
Yes, barn quilts are painted blocks, but some artists take it further and quilt with actual wood.
We happen to have one of those wood quilt block artists married to our very own art director, Jill. And here is an example, and
Come on
here's
in.
our Jill
Come on
to show
in.
it to us.
This is such an amazing block. It's just so beautiful. I just love it. Now, it hangs over your fireplace, right?
It does. I actually have one over our fireplace and another one in our basement. We just finished our basement last year in kind of a modern farmhouse look, and so I have 2 in my house.
I love it.
love it.
Now,
I
has your husband made many of these quilt blocks?
He's made a few. We made some for a craft fair a couple years ago, and then
Okay.
some more for family.
Right, and maybe for Erica and I, it's just his
He'd
hobby,
probably
right?
do that. Yeah,
Just,
he would
just
do
a hobby.
Just a hobby.
Yeah.
Don't email Jill and say
When her eyes got really big, she's like, it's just a hobby.
It is. It is. And has he ever worked with fabric? Because you're a quilter.
Yes.
Yes.
You've been a
Yes.
quilter for a long time.
I have. No, he has not worked with fabric yet, although he is very impressed with the skills of sewing and quilting. So he does want to learn, and he is interested in getting on the sewing machine at some time.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay.
All right, before Jill leaves, because she really does have a day job.
Right.
Let's give away our next prize. Let's see if Jill wants to do it.
Yes.
So we're going to give away another Bear's Paw die, so let's talk about this die. So Erica and I have showed the block that it makes, but it has that great square and half square triangles, smaller squares, and rectangles. Have you ever made a Bear's Paw?
I have. I made a little table runner with the bear's paw. a
Yeah,
couple
and it
years
was
ago.
super cute.
It was very cute
It was super
and
cute.
easy.
All right, so Jill, do you want to announce our next lucky winner?
Yes, our next winner is Vicky K from Applegate, Oregon.
Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations.
Vicky. Thanks for watching. All right, Miss Jill, we're going to send this back so you can go do your day
All
job.
right,
Thanks for
guys.
joining us.
Jill is part of our events team here, so she actually has to work.
She has to work. She has
I know.
other things she's doing.
All right. All right.
Okay, so Pam and I love fabric.
Oh, more than we can imagine.
And that's why I'm a quilter, is because I love fabric. So that's why we're so excited about the fabric company who has partnered with us for this show. Our friends at Timeless Treasures have provided 2 lovely fabric bundles to give to our viewers. And we're going to give away our first one right now.
And listen, Eric and I, we contemplated about this fabric because it's beautiful fabric.
It is
but
beautiful
yes, indeed,
fabric.
we're going to give it away.
So the winner of our first beautiful fabric bundle is Maureen M. from Thousand Oaks, California.
Congratulations, Maureen. Thanks for watching with us
Congratulations.
today.
My uncle was a high school science teacher in Thousand Oaks.
Okay, the world is so small. I
Okay,
just
maybe
love
she was
it.
in his class.
Maybe so. Maybe
Were you
so.
Uncle Keith's science student?
Did you? Wait, yeah, Uncle Keith.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't know.
Let's not waste another minute. I'm ready to see what our experts came up with. Tammy, what did you compile?
Yes.
Well, I'm back, and here's my final project. I did the Young Man's Fancy, and I think I fell in love with the colors on the side of that barn, the red, the black, the white. So I stayed true to that when I built this quilt. And it is set on a 5 grid, and I used a 6-inch cube with a 2-inch strip die. Now, using that 6-inch cube on a 5 grid, I ended up with a 15-inch block, which was just fantastic. So I have nice big blocks. So adding in the sashing to the quilt really made those blocks stand out. So here you have it, Young Man's Fancy. I hope you love it.
I do love it.
I do love it, and I love any block that has the word fancy in it.
Yes, and it's so striking, the
It
red
is.
and white and black.
And it was interesting, she made a 15-inch finished block, so she could pair that up with the 10-inch cube.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it would also make a 15-inch
Yeah,
block.
yeah.
I know, I love it.
All right, Anita, what are you submitting?
Hi ladies, welcome back to the studio. I have had a great time working on my project. I have used our 6-inch cube, our 12-inch cube, our 3.5-inch strip die, and our 6.5-inch strip die. And you know, I did take my inspiration from those barn blocks and just the great memories my sister and I had going out and looking at them and taking pictures, and that brought me back to my childhood. So today's project is not new concept, it's a quillow, a quilt and a pillow. So it has this little pillow pocket here, and out pops a lap-sized quilt. But now this is not my finished project. What I wanted to show you now is my finished project, which I did take great inspiration from those wonderful barns we've seen. And here you go, memory lane. Here we have a barn quilt. I call it a pieced strip quilt because you can quilt as you go. It's made into 6-inch strips down through here. We have our beautiful barn shape on the roof using our half rectangles. And then I also incorporated my own barn quilt onto it. I hope Memory Lane brings y'all as many fond memories as it has me. Thank y'all for having me on this episode. And until next time, happy piecing, y'all.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
There's our barn. We said
There's
we
a-
needed a barn. There's our barn.
There's our brand. Hey, Anita, we want to know, did you have that fabric that looks like wood slats in your
Yes.
stash, or did you buy new
Or did
fabric?
you have to buy new fabric?
Because either way, it's
Because
beautiful.
one way or the other. Maybe she saw the fabric and went, that's it, I'm going to make a barn
I
block.
think so. I love it.
I don't know.
All right, Vicky, what did you build for us today?
Welcome back. I can't wait to show you what I came up with. Without further ado, ta-da! Victory Barn Quilt. What I did here was I combined some traditional and some fun elements using my 6, my 8, and my 12-inch cube. I went ahead and updated it from the sawtooth star to an Ohio star so that I could go ahead and put this friendship star in the middle. I also made sure to use color so that I could focus and have it look like it was on point. And then because I thought I wanted to add a 3-dimensional element, I went ahead and built this modified carpenter star for the border. And in addition, I used a flange binding, which I think finishes it off just perfectly.
Oh, those were beautiful. Okay, can we vote for all three?
No, we can't. But Vicky, okay, kudos to you because she used a flange binding.
Yes.
There are 2 dies you need for a flange binding if you're adding to your die collection today for strip dies, 1.5 and 1 3/4 inch strips.
There you go.
There we go. All right, they're great, and I'm glad Eric and we don't have to vote.
Right, right.
So quilters, voting is open now. If you're watching via the registration link, the voting box is found in the chat section just to the right of where you type.
And if you're joining us through Facebook or YouTube, just type your favorite into the comment section. We're going to tally them at the end from there.
We're not. Marissa and Katie and
Yeah, everybody
all
else
of those
is.
other people are going to tally.
We're still going to be talking.
Yeah. All right, remember our event special today is buy 2, get 1 free on Go Qubes, dies, cutting mats, and accessories. So let's talk about bob dies because I
good
love
idea.
a good bob die. So 3 bob dies that I would get today would be Storm at Sea
Morning Star.
and Bear's Paw.
No, not Morning Star. Mariner's Compass.
Mariner's Compass.
Mariner's
That's
Compass.
what I
That's,
love.
oh,
Yeah, and we should get the Bear's Paw. So
Yes.
buy 2, get 1 free.
There you
You're
go.
going to use the code BARNQUILT at checkout, all one word. You can see how useful the cubes are, right? So take advantage of this chance to buy 3 of them. 1 will be free.
that's right. Quilters, we know you don't want to miss a minute of the show, and we're hearing that orders are coming in very quickly.
We are. So to get your order in during the show, use your phone's camera to capture the QR image and go directly to the site.
You can also find these products at your local AccuQuilt retailer. To find the retailer closest to you, go to the top right-hand corner of our website for the store locator.
All right, and again, folks, we have financing options. For more details, visit AccuQuilt.com/financing. We want everyone to know the joy of quilting with AccuQuilt.
That's right. So while folks are casting their votes, let's share some barn quilt-like blocks that we have right here.
I love this.
So let's start with some quilts. Da-da-da.
Ta-da-ta-da. Okay, so this is the quarter storm porch hanging. We use storm at sea, ta-da-ta-da.
Yes.
And it's that illusion, this diamond and a rectangle that gives the illusion of motion.
Yes.
Only you're only going to ever sew straight seams.
And since we don't all have barns, right? So how about hanging this on your front porch?
Yeah, I love that.
Or your
I
back
think
porch.
We have a porch. We could
Or
do
your
that.
entryway?
Yes.
Lots of needs. You don't have to have a barn.
No.
Okay, here's another great one.
We're going to hold this right up here for Miss
Yes.
Chelsea. So this is your front door barn quilt. Everybody has a front door.
That's right.
So you could totally use this. I love that it has denim look in it and the kind of barn quilt square colors.
Yes, and I think we should turn it around
We
and show
should.
the back so that you can appreciate the quilting. It's like wood grain.
Yes, it's
Isn't that
darling.
cool?
It's darling. Just a little free motion quilting.
Now, of
I
all
love
the
it.
ones we're showing, this next one is one of my very
Oh,
favorites.
This one is so cool. So we're going to pull it here so Miss Chelsea can see it.
Now, this is our Go Lilac table topper. But to me, it has just that Amish quilt feel.
It does.
But with such a modern twist and the
Yes.
vibrant colors.
And look, we used a tiny little 1.5 inch strip die, which finishes to 1 inch to make those blocks.
And there's another reason to buy that die.
There is. And this right here is our signature block, and we've added a green and a black to it to give that barn quilt
Look at that great illusion. I love
Yeah,
that.
this is
I
super
really
cool.
like that. How bold. That would look great on your front porch.
It would.
Ooh, here's another one. Now, we've been talking about our bear's paw. We've been
We
giving them
have.
away.
We
Here we
have.
go, quilters.
Here it is. So this one, they turned the bear's paw on point,
Mm-hmm.
which gives it a totally different look.
Yes.
And we used a little grunge, so already I love it.
Right.
2.5 inch strips right here to give it that look of that border intersection.
So
I think
bold.
it's just fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
It's also very soft.
Yes. Yes, we could
Okay.
curl up with that. It's a rainy day here.
It is.
This one, remember I said Mariner's Compass? This is why,
Yes.
because I love this.
Okay, buy 2, get 1 free. Make sure you add that Mariner's Compass in it. So the great thing about this quilt is the Mariner's Compass, those points all come together beautifully.
Right.
And it comes together. Now we have this great program at AccuQuilt.com called Go Quilt.
Yes,
And
yes.
we've thrown up thousands of patterns in there, and you can totally change the colorway.
Yes.
So like if you were going to change the colorway, what colors would you use,
You know,
Erica?
I might change out the red for a lime green.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe a really hot pink.
Yes, that would be so fun.
How fun.
All right, so that's the sale on home.
Oh, and this one. This is one of our most popular dies. Again, this would be a great bob to get today. It's
Yes.
the Arkansas Traveler.
And this is the Arkansas Traveler wall hanging. I'm going to tell you, Arkansas Traveler has all the pieces you need to make your blocks, and totally you could make this in a weekend.
You could.
Make it, sew it, quilt it, bind it in a weekend.
And this has been so popular. Think about if you were from Arkansas and maybe
Right.
live someplace else.
Right.
Tell everybody where you're from.
I know.
Arkansas
My parents
Traveler.
live in Arkansas. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. This stunner is Go Cleopatra's Garden Gate.
Now, Erica, I'm going to tell you, when this first die first came out, I was a little nervous about it, right?
Yeah?
Because it has so many curved pieces. But AccuQuilt adds notches every time we have a curve. So you grew up in that sewing where you
That
do
garment sewing world,
sewing.
it cuts those notches in for you. So you can just put a pin at that notch. It's going to go together so smoothly. And this would be stunning on a front porch or a
Right.
back porch or...
And think about this. Think about if you didn't have a die, you would probably have to do paper piecing or a template.
I wouldn't make it.
No,
I wouldn't.
because it's going to cut all the pieces perfectly.
And it's purple, and we love that.
And we do. We do. All right, quilters. Now, some of you might remember that AccuQuilt is known for having a big barn quilt. In fact, it's 16 by 16, and you can see it all the way from the interstate.
That's right. We've had a few designs over the years, and all were created by some really amazing quilt artists. Now, we thought we'd take this time to share them with you, since right now we can't have any visitors.
No, we're all staying safe.
So take a look at this.
right, so this montage started at original facility in Fremont, Nebraska.
That's right.
And then it moved here to Omaha, Nebraska about 10 years ago. 9 years ago.
9 years ago?
Yeah,
about
you and
9
I.
years ago.
You and I were here.
We came with Omaha.
We did. And we've been to all of those. Some of them are such, I just love them. The
Great
artists are
events
great.
and great artists.
Okay, quilters, voting is closed. So now we're going to start tabulating.
So while we wait for the final results, we have another fun fabric giveaway. Our friends at Timeless Treasures did give us 2 bundles, and we're going to give them both away and not keep them.
I know, we tried, but they said we had to give them away.
So this is a lovely selection of Americana fabric.
And I am so jealous of the new owners of both of our fabric bundles. All right, the winner is Lois C. from Millville, New Jersey. Congratulations, Lois. You're going to love our fabric. Hey, listen, send us pictures of what you make.
Oh yeah, we love seeing pictures
do.
of what you all make. Okay, and we've got one more Bear's Paw winner as well.
We do. The
So-
winner of our last Bear's Paw giveaway today.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes?
Deb G. from Lynchburg, Virginia. Congratulations, Deb. You're going to love that die. I use my Bear's Paw quite often.
Yeah.
It has all those great shapes
It's such
on
a
it.
great block. Okay, they're done counting.
Wait till you hear.
Wait till you hear. We get to see who won our Barn Quilt Challenge. Is it Tammy with her red and black and white Young Man's Fancy?
It has fancy in the name. Or Anita with her Quillow and her Memory Lane quilt.
Or maybe it's Vicky with her Victory Barn Quilt combining the Ohio, Friendship, and Modified Carpenter's Star.
It's just amazing. Okay, are you ready? The winner by 2 votes is Vicky. Congratulations, Vicky.
Congratulations.
That is so amazing. Congratulations. 2 votes. Every
2
vote
votes.
counts here at AccuQuilt.
That's right.
All right, quilters, it looks like our special has been a huge hit.
Now remember, today we are offering you buy 2, get 1 free on Go Dies, Cubes, cutting mats, and accessories with the code BARNQUILT.
To get your order in now, use your phone's camera to capture the QR image here. It'll take you directly to the site.
And quilters, this is the system you need if you want to create fabric art like this.
Yes, and the accuracy and ease that AccuQuilt gives a quilter is unmatched with scissors or rotary cutters. With our fabric cutting system and dies, you're going to get creating and sewing right away.
That's
Just
right.
add fabric. That's
Just
all
add
you need.
fabric. Don't forget to pick up the 2 great Barn Quilt books that we talked about. Barn Quilts and the American Quilt Trail Movement by Susie Perrone with Donna Sue Groves.
Yes, and Quilt Blocks on American Barns by Eleanor Burns. Both of them are available at our website. Throw them in your cart today.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we love having you join us for our special events and always look forward to hearing your comments.
Yes.
We're keeping the new product fun coming by revealing a brand new online exclusive die on Tuesday, April 6th.
Listen.
You will not want to
will
miss
not
this.
want to- we know what it is. You're going to love it.
We can't tell you anything else, but we can promise that your requests are being heard by our team. Is that a clue?
No,
Okay.
but it's so great. Okay? Be sure to register for the event and join us at 12 noon Central Time for the very first look of this exclusive die. Now, with this exclusive online die, quantities are limited.
Very.
And trust me, you do not want to miss out.
And with every die reveal, we've always got plenty of quilting inspiration for you. If you haven't yet signed up to be an AQ Circle member so you get our emails and are the first to know about it, well, everything,
Right.
including new products. So be sure to sign up.
If you like today's show, be sure to join me every Wednesday at 12 noon Central Time, which is tomorrow, on Facebook and YouTube channels. I showcase a die, give you some fun ideas for projects, and we always have a sweet deal. Tomorrow, we're going to talk more about barn quilts and dissecting those blocks and
That's great.
recreating with your 9-inch
That is
cube.
great.
Yep.
If you can't wait for more AccuQuilt fun, visit our blog. We cover everything there from organizational tips and tricks to project tutorials and everything in between. In fact, be sure to subscribe. That way you'll be notified when a new blog goes live.
Our blogs are great. Erica helps write them. They're great.
do.
Hey,
Fun.
and before we sign off, we just want to give a shout out to our good friend Marissa.
Yes.
She is part of our events team
Yes.
here at AccuQuilt, and she is leaving us. She's going to go do some other great things. So huge shout out to Marissa for all of her help with our
'Cause we're gonna
AccuQuilt.
miss her.
We are going to miss her. We are. Okay, but we're getting ready to sign off. If you've been waiting for our show to end, to buy now is the time. The link is right here, and remember the code is BarnQuilt. We want to make sure you get your goodies before you're gone. Now, you want to be sure and stick around after the show to see some
Yes.
BarnQuilt viewer submission photos that the lovely Chelsea Graphics put together in a little video.
They're fabulous.
They're fun.
So be sure to watch. Now remember, with AccuQuilt, you have a ton of ways that you can cut time.
So you can quote more. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.